Hi, I'm Steve Dupay, Business Development Director for Keycode Media, and this is Broadcast to Post. Today we're going to explore trending solutions for sports stadiums. Have you been to a new or upgraded sports facility recently? The production capabilities inside sports stadiums and arenas have leveled up. Massive high-resolution LED Jumbotron screens now have eye-popping graphics that wrap and engage the entire arena. Kiss cams, contests, and of course the game itself, with instant replay, real-time player stats, and visually stunning advertisements from sponsors. As a system integrator, it has been exciting to be part of these behind-the-scenes changes and updates and see how new graphics, replay, production switching and processing, and advanced control rooms, much of it enabled by new SMPTE 2110 IP-based infrastructure, directly impacts the production staff and, most importantly, the fans, both live and at home. Our partner, Ross Video, has been at the forefront of broadcast sports technology, investing heavily in R&D that pays off with relevant products that continue to push the sports industry forward. You can see Ross products in most stadiums, powering video boards encompassing the full arena, custom graphics, dynamically linked content, real-time rendering, and simplifying tasks and workflows that help production teams to accomplish in mere minutes what used to take hours. In this video, we're going to summarize some of the top Ross Video products for sports stadiums and in-venue productions, and what these latest products could mean for advanced stadium production. I'll also sprinkle in some commentary about our experience with these products in designing, installing, and supporting Ross solutions across the country. You probably would expect us to kick this off with something sexy like cameras, video walls, or graphics, but in my opinion, hyperconverged infrastructure is the coolest and most important thing we can talk about to start. Hyperconverged infrastructure is a software-defined, unified system that combines all the elements of a traditional equipment solution: storage, processing, networking, and systems control and management. There's nothing television engineers hate dealing with more than cables. With hyperconverged, you combine many parts of the solution that would traditionally be separate servers, purpose-built processors, and other rack space-hungry gear, all interconnected via cables and signal routing. This new approach enables these functions to be combined into a more firmware, software-based solution approach that utilizes the latest IP-based networking and connectivity in addition to traditional methods. They also reduce weight, footprint, cabling, shrinking and simplifying the system, making it easier for customers to update, integrate next-gen technology into existing spaces, and to reduce the cost of shipping gear between event locations. In simple terms, hyperconverged is kind of like a smartphone. It combines all the apps you need into a single software-defined OS-style platform. With something like Ross Ultrix Router, you're taking all of your signal types and processing them in a single customized signal management platform, the ultimate problem solver. A prime example of this is the traditional need to expand the size of your big SDI, audio, and other signal routers to accomplish the latest production needs. With hyperconverged Ultrix routing, you can now support a variety of signal types: SMPTE 2110, SDI, SDR, HDR, MADI, Dante AS67, multi-viewers, and more in a single box by adding various modular cards, reducing space, cable interconnects, and converters, and a lot of last-minute production headaches. The Ross Ultrix router comes in 1RU, 2RU, and up to 12RU solutions. As far as routers go, it has rock-solid performance, and with the hyperconverged setup, you can dramatically reduce rack space and machine room air conditioning needs by consolidating multiple products and functions into one platform. The latest version of Ross Ultrix includes SMPTE 2110 enhancements: 16 UHD bidirectional streams per IPX card with SMPTE 2020-7 redundancy, NMOS IS-10 security, and super low latency. This is a phenomenal update for facilities looking to go IP. Ultrix has also added 3D LUT conversion, Dante audio, one of my favorites, NDI, and so much more. A small apparent downside if you're using a huge amount of I/O is that Ultrix maxes out at 288 by 288 inputs and outputs. But the reality is, with this hyperconverged approach, many of the previously needed I/Os for external processing and conversion products disappear. Also worth noting, the concern of the hyperconverged solution putting all of your eggs in the proverbial one basket, creating a single point of failure. The Ultrix Ross addresses this by providing multiple levels of redundancy in the product, as well as Ultrix being well known for its extreme reliability. The hyperconverged Ross Ultrix is leading the industry with its innovative, compact, and flexible signal routing system. If your goal is to reduce machine room space, have a more green approach to energy use, and a platform to easily bring together a diversity of signal types and processes, this is a great solution for your team. Ross Dashboard is a free software package that enables you to monitor, control, and program your production technologies in simple-to-use, highly customizable control interfaces. So why is this important? Everything we're going to talk about next: graphics, production control, camera control, needs a control interface or UI that is ideally uniform in its presentation and operation. All of these functions, plus many others, are all accessible, customizable, and controllable inside a single dashboard UI interface. This helps keeps your team from having to learn multiple different software interfaces for multiple different products, reducing the chance for errors and frustration, while speeding up integration, changes, and operation. And again, all this from a single interface to all aspects of the production. Dashboard is also highly customizable, streamlining complex workflows in custom control panels, reducing manual tasks, minimizing errors, and making your production operations more reliable and efficient. Dashboard works with Carbonite, Expression, Ultrix, Mira, and a variety of third-party protocols to bring other systems in the control room at the fingertips of anyone inside Dashboard. All new or recently upgraded stadiums are most likely using the ROS Expression suite of products to power their graphics and LED displays and banners. It's that simple. ROS has been dominating the sports graphics of late, so let's get into why this is happening. Expression is ROS's real-time motion graphics platform and is an essential part of the broadcast sports experience, becoming the industry standard for eye-popping explosive graphic design, dramatically linked content, and real-time rendering to fill the screens around a stadium. New stadium designs are wrapping their entire venue in LED displays with highly custom dimensions, synchronized animations, and attention-grabbing advertisements. Expression combined with Dashboard in an all-in-one UI makes delivering these experiences easier. The latest Expression version 12 introduces enhancements to HDR workflows, the big push in sports workflows today. Expression now accepts Adobe Cube files, which allow customers to upload 3D LUTs for a more vibrant visual experience. The live input shader is also getting an update that will allow more features and flexibility within the Expression engine. On the Expression hardware side, the new Expression M9 includes a Xeon CPU and an NVIDIA RTX 4000 card for improved GPU performance. It features 25% more cores than the M8, nearly 4 times more storage in 2RU, and 7 times more storage in the 4RU, with 300% more RAM. The front panel of the Expression server now has a new visual alert lighting to inform the user of the status of an Expression system. For example, it can flash red if there is an issue, but way cooler, you can adjust the panels to any RGB color so your rack room can light up with your team's colors. Moving to software, Expression FX is a new tool to help manage and recall effects with a streamlined file workflow and seamless switcher integration. Expression Tessera is at the heart of synchronizing all graphics content across all LED screens, wrapping your arena. Tessera's distributed workflow system utilizes a simple region mapping tool to allow users to slice up a graphic on a large canvas and distribute it across multiple channels or engines for pixel-accurate rendering. Back in the studio, augmented reality and virtual sets built in Unreal Engine can help elevate the audience experience. Voyager is ROS Video's Unreal-based render platform that can put your sports anchor virtually down on the field or just build a killer virtual set. Voyager is linked to Expression via data link server, parsing data from multiple external sources and feeding it directly into Voyager. And while we're on the subject of studios, I'll briefly mention ROS's Lucid Studio, a highly flexible control platform built around an intuitive graphical interface for augmented reality, Virtual Studio or XR Virtual LED Studio environments. Lucid provides seamless integration with tracking systems and real-time 3D rendering engines such as Expression and Voyager. Lastly, for your sports analytic people, we need to talk about how the ROS team can provide real-time graphical analysis with Piero. This intuitive interactive sports analysis platform currently supports more than 20 of the world's major sports, 3D telestrations, 3D replays, movable and removable players, virtual run, auto-tracking spotlight, and more, all using state-of-the-art custom-branded graphics and even augmented reality effects. And virtual advertisements and sponsorships are possible with all Piero solutions. It's worth noting, ROS also has a creative service team to assist you with producing any graphic elements across all of their graphic products and platforms. ROS Video Rocket Surgery is a creative and professional services team that helps sports teams and stadiums build out virtual production and graphics packages that are optimized to perform on Expression and Voyager systems. You can quickly start that next season with a new graphics package and even offer it to advertisers interested in taking their placement to the next level. ROS Video started out as a production switcher company and is known for making some of the most reliable and easy-to-use video switcher panels and servers in the world. Their production switchers come in 2 models, ROS Acuity and ROS Carbonite. ROS Ultrix Acuity pairs ROS's flagship Acuity production switcher, designed for large-scale productions and challenging live events, with the Ultrix flexible hyperconverged routing platform. This future-proof platform combines the signal and format flexibility of Ultrix with the software-defined production engine capabilities of Acuity, providing base hardware that can grow with simple, cost-effective software licenses. This makes it ideal for vans, OB trucks, and venues by reducing cabling, space, cooling, and maintenance requirements. The Ross Carbonite is a mid-size switcher that offers high-end production capabilities at an affordable price. It can handle 1080p 60 and 4K productions without expensive upgrades. Each software-defined production engine, or SDPE, installed in either an FR2, FR5, or FR12 frame provides up to 2 powerful ME banks and versatile mini-MEs, that's mini-MEs, in addition to the powerful routing and processing capabilities of Ultrix. Carbonite Ultra 60, introduced in 2023, expands the system to 60 inputs and 25 outputs in HD or UHD. The latest free software update, version 9, now has 800 gigabytes of internal SSD storage. There are also configurable clean feeds to every full ME. These updates are free of charge for Ultra 60 owners. Carbonite Code is a brand new NDI production switcher for Ross. Code will have the flexibility of NDI but with Carbonite performance, including 30 NDI inputs, 6 NDI outputs, 3 MEs with 6 keys, 18 DVEs, 3 multi-viewers, and a 48-channel stereo audio mixer. It starts at 15K, which is highly compelling. It is important to not confuse Carbonite Code with the other all-in-one NDI switchers on the market. The Carbonite Code will require additional products for purchase for things like DDR, live streaming encoders, and a few others. Still, this is a highly affordable way for sports broadcast teams to start using NDI in their production. For example, a sports team could put together a low-cost NDI fly pack out in the field that then connects back to the Carbonite Ultra 60 in the stadium control room. When it comes to controlling your LED wall video processing, Ross's Mosaic Ultra is a complete redesign of their video image processor for LED and large displays. A single instance can process up to 50 million pixels. Combined with Expression Tessera for design, you can make a limitless amount of graphics, canvas size, and shape. And live video feeds can now have incredibly low latency, pixel accuracy, and multiple destinations. All of these projects can be highly modular in the Ross Video hyperconverged environment. Ross SDPE blades help you to slide in necessary I/O, graphics, and switcher cards inside the Ultrix Acuity router. The latest blade is called SDXE, that enables a pool of 3D DVE channels, including advanced warp functionality, to be shared system-wide. SDXE blades can use a Mosaic license to bring video wall processing to your hyperconverged solution. Of course, when it comes to technical directors and operators, all this horsepower comes down to the buttons on the panel that allow them to switch between sources with transitions in real time. Ross Touch drive panels are built for the largest and most demanding live production environments with a familiar layout that operators are already used to using. Touch Drive also incorporates a built-in computer to provide complete configuration and control functionality of the panel, frame, and other connected Ross and third-party devices. Here's that dashboard again. Dashboard is the underlying venue control system in the most technologically advanced sports and entertainment venues on the planet. Combining the keys on a touch drive with the ability to quickly access all elements of Dashboard, your production team has a huge range of flexibility to control the sports stadium environment. Their latest touch panels, the TDX3 and TDX4, have 2 rows of new buttons with integral displays that follow and show operator input and the exact status of assignment buttons. Before we jump to the next topic, we should also make a few other mentions. Ross Mira is Ross's replay product. Based on the current features and price point, it's going to be popular for a lot of college athletic video departments. There are a few newer replay features that Mira should consider adding to its products, but knowing the Ross team, they are likely on the cusp of releasing these features in a future update. Ross Production Cloud is about making all graphite, expression, overdrive, soft gear, and media I/O solutions available in the cloud. We have a few sports customers using this to allow production teams to operate from home or to bring in talent remotely to operate a show. Lastly, it's worth mentioning that Ross can help you crew and payroll your sports production team. Ross Video Production Services helps sports broadcast with crewing and payrolling staff for your sports, esports, and studio productions, including support for fly packs, graphics, up to complete remote operating control rooms via the cloud. Thank you for joining us in exploring the trending solutions for sports stadiums. As you can see, the innovations from Ross Video are revolutionizing the industry, providing cutting-edge stadium and in-venue experiences while bringing the latest time-saving and creativity-generating capabilities to the production team. On top of all these products, Ross Support is known for going above and beyond with on-site and remote support. Having the proverbial one throat to choke can be easier than disparate system providers pointing fingers. If you're interested in learning more about sports solutions from Ross Video or exploring products from our other 400-plus partners, please contact Key Code Media. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more insights and updates. Welcome to our Broadcast to Post episode on sports stadiums and in-venue production. Today, we're diving into the complexities of video walls, graphics, control room equipment, and the myriad challenges of live sports broadcasts. From handling technical setups and managing signal interference to dealing with latency and ensuring reliability in large venues, our discussion will cover the logistical, environmental, and operational pressures that broadcast engineers face. We'll explore everything from the intricacies of coordinating production teams and maintaining seamless technical integration. Let's introduce our guests. First off, we have Stan Fracker, Operational Director for Broadcast and AV at the Detroit Tigers and Red Wings with Illich Entertainment. Stan has extensive experience in managing video productions and overseeing incremental upgrades to stadium and arena technology over the years. Question for you, Stan. Can you give us a behind-the-scenes look at your career and what your day-to-day responsibilities entail?
Sure. I'll try and give you the short version. First of all, thank you very much for having me on. Really my background is heavy on the producing side. I was with the Detroit Pistons starting in 1997 through all the way through 2013. And in that time, produced our actual broadcasts for about 15 years, did the whole travel thing in and out of trucks. And in the meantime, when you're working for a team, you take on a lot of roles too. And I took on one too as an editor too, edited, a variety of content, over the years. And then I shifted last couple of years there, shifted into more of a role of oversight of what we were doing on the in-house side in venue and overseeing our, content and in-game production from a venue standpoint. Then moved over to the Tigers in 2013 in somewhat of a similar role, director of broadcasting and game presentation for the Tigers, and did that for about 10 years, heavily involved in our control room decisions, equipment purchases as part of that role, but really much of my focus was the day in, day out nature of producing live sports in a venue. And then last year I had the opportunity to shift over to a role with Illich Sports and Entertainment. Our ownership group owns both the Red Wings and the Tigers, and really focus more on the technical side. And so I'm learning now, I think, so I was able to speak engineering pretty well for a producer. Not sure I'm able to pull it off in my day-to-day conversations with our engineering staff, but I'm doing the best I can and overseeing projects from that standpoint.
Well, it's great to have you join us here. We've also got Sean Hutchinson, the Sports and Live Business Development Representative from Ross Video. Sean optimizes sports workflows and has assisted numerous professional sports teams across the NFL, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, and the NBA with over 20 years of experience as an operator for some of the largest sports teams in the country. Sean has seen how operating shows has evolved. A question for you, Sean. Can you share more about your background in sports production and how you've seen the field change over the last few years?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me as well, Steve. So I've been in the business for probably 20 plus years, maybe 25. And most of my focus has really been technical directing throughout the years. So I've spent a lot of times working with all the different leagues and teams, never taking home shows. I was always an away show guy, and primarily because I really wanted to learn from all the different directors and, the graphics packages, different switchers, and make sure I sort of spread myself out to become that much better. There's been a lot of changes over the years. And it just to let everybody know, I still do technical direct shows, so I want to keep myself plugged in with what's happening out there so that I can talk to people about other pieces of gear and what have you. But I did take a position with Ross as a full-time business development manager about a year and a half ago. So that's really opened my eyes to a whole different world, right? You're not necessarily on the crew side, you're in front of it all, so you're sort of seeing what's coming down the road, which is really nice to be a part of. But yeah, the changes out there, I mean, there's so many, and we'll talk about them as we go here, but one of the biggest changes I've seen of recent is the running productions, right? So COVID sort of pushed all of us in that direction, and I think all of us have gotten really creative on how we handle productions. And now it's more of a hybrid of not only remote but on-prem, so we're sort of blending the two and seeing where it goes.
That's really good information and fantastic background to dive into this conversation. Stan, you recently upgraded the video board at the Detroit Tiger Stadium. Can you walk us through the design process, the deployment timeline, and the final fan experience, as well as the decision-making process that you went to select the type of walls that you have?
Yeah, so our previous video board was put in 2012 at Comerica Park. It was a Daktronics board, and it had reached its end of life. And we probably pushed it maybe a year beyond that a little bit. We're certainly seeing daily evidence that it was time to replace. In 2022, began our research process on what was the best shape for a board to take place at Comerica Park. And one of the defining characteristics of our ballpark is just the view of the downtown skyline. It's the reason why our ballpark points in the direction it does. And it was very clear to us that we didn't want to do anything to disrupt that. So we did land on keeping the position of our board in left field, so a little, off center. But there's, a strategy behind that. And we wanted to keep the same basic structure in place. What we were able to do, though, is take a look at all the fixed advertising that existed along each side and below it, and say that's where we're going to expand our campus. And so we elected to go with a video board now that's 5,500 pixels wide, and about 3,000 at a certain point tall. It is a bit of an odd shape. It looks like kind of a fat T, but that fits the structure. And we program it in a way that takes advantage of that shape rather than it, looking odd. And give all the credit to our game presentation crew, for really maximizing it. The actual process, though, we get into 2023. At that point, we decided to internalize the process for this week. We knew where we wanted the board. We knew basic parameters of it. And so we managed the RFP process with various vendors. And we took it upon ourselves, myself and our technical director, visited several ballparks that had also just recently undergone a similar upgrade. We went to see the new boards in Pittsburgh, the new board for the New York Mets, and the new board for the Minnesota Twins, all with different manufacturers, and got a firsthand look at not only themselves and how they performed, but also the control rooms too, as well, and the integration between the two. And it really put us in the right frame of mind to make the decision as we went through the RFP process. We received strong bids from a lot of vendors. Obviously, we had a good working relationship with Daktronics, but we were open-minded going into it. And at the end of the day, Daktronics was able to meet all of the terms we were looking for, and we moved forward with them, being our partner. And I think it has proven to be a good choice, a great choice. I mean, the board was delivered on time. It's looked fantastic all season long. We're still in our first season with it. There's always little bumps along the way, but overall performance and fan enjoyment has I think it exceeded our expectations. So it's been fantastic.
That's really cool. I think one of the things that kind of stands out to me is the anamorphic nature of the display and being able to fit it into a shape and design that is unique to your venue, preserving that city skyline and all those kinds of things. The graphics to drive that has got to be really critical. Sean, video walls and the graphics driving them have significantly transformed the in-game experience. What has been your experience with these newer workflows, and what advice would you give to a team looking to add more screens or compelling graphics or these anamorphic displays to their stadium programming?
I think it's impressive with what people come at us with and everybody with in terms of these crazy displays, right? And it's not just one display, it's a ton of displays inside, outside the venue. And you think about even the floors, right? I had the luxury of managing the NBA All-Star game at Lucas this past season. And one of the things that they implemented was an LED floor. It was really impressive. they actually had players that would run across the floor, and then their tracking system allows sparkles to trail behind them. There's just a lot of different things that you can do. And then recently, the Sphere in Vegas, that was a pretty. If you haven't been to the Sphere and seen the inside of that place, you've got to get out there and see it. It's the most immersive experience I think I've ever experienced. And yes, the LED boards are getting bigger, better, resolution's better. You've got HDR, but you really have to be strategic in how you place these boards. It can't just be all over the place. You've got to have a plan as to why you're putting it in and what the ultimate goal is. But again, it's driving all these boards with content, right? That's what we do. We somehow spin the stuff up and play it out there, and you have to think about the real-time aspect of it. So you've got all this data that flows in and pushes content to these boards, and it can't be this pre-rendered content. I know that like Stan can attest to this, but there are some pre-rendered layers that they do use facility, but then in front of those pre-rendered layers, there's all this dynamic changing material that allows everything to stay up to date, right? So I think that's really, really critical. So you need some kind of real-time render engine that can actually adjust to what's happening and play that content out to the boards.
Cool. So that kind of leads to the more general discussion around the trends technology-wise and display-wise that are going on. People moving to HDR, going to UHD type of displays, like we've already talked about with the anamorphic. All this high data rate display information, it struggles under traditional 12 gig, 3 gig infrastructures. Maybe if you could talk a little bit about how protocols like SMPTE 2110 are helping with that, either bringing a facility up to date or enabling some of these new technologies to be deployed. And that also includes things like audio with the advances of Dante and those kinds of things. Sean, if you could maybe explain a little bit about your experiences and what you would advise teams, what advice you would give to teams in planning for these kinds of room upgrades with these kinds of high data rate video experiences in mind.
Yeah, so there's a lot to cover here, but as far as 2110 is concerned, that's a big topic. I mean, you've got your standard SDI baseband, your NDI, your 2110, and the big question that is posed to these teams is what do we go with? Where do we go to protect our investment? And I think that as awesome as 2110 is, I think people do pull back a bit because of the complexity and the cost. I think over time that cost will drop significantly, and then you layer on the learning curve, right? It's a huge learning curve, and I think we're all getting there. I mean, if you think about HDR, 4K, even 8K now, and then SMPTE 2110, there's a lot to digest. And I think people need to be careful, especially the ones like Stan making the decision. They need to make intelligent, smart decisions. They need to collaborate with with the SIs. They need to collaborate with the vendors and sort of pull it all together so they make good decisions. But you've got your algorithms that are shrinking content and making it easier to pass, files through small codecs. You got to think about the ingesting process, the transcoding process, the distribution process. I mean, there's a lot of components to make all this work.
Stan, how did that impact your decision making for your upgrade at the Tiger Stadium?
No, it was a significant part of our decision making to right off the top is okay. What is the format going to be? We're coming from we're a 1080i environment right now. So 1080i SDI. We knew we wanted to upgrade our signal quality, and so then you're talking 1080p versus 4K. Did a lot of research in that area where trends are going and whether it was worth justifying the additional cost, and also too for the user experience. I mean, what is the difference between what 4K looks like on our video board and what 1080p? We did through that research land on it wasn't worth the incremental cost for us, and 1080p was not only more cost effective, but simply from an infrastructure standpoint and to be able to handle data rates and everything that apply. I think of it in terms of as an editor too. What files am I working with? And the processing power needed for it, all of that. But on the IP side, we were encouraged by the fact that when we first started looking at this, the delta between Going 2110 versus SDI seemed also significant for what we were trying to achieve. A year later, as we got in the process, those costs seemed to come down quite a bit just in 1 year. And that changed the equation for us, because now we're talking about, okay, if the costs aren't too significantly different, this is an opportunity to future-proof ourselves to a certain standpoint. We like that a lot. We're not making a 4K decision now, but if we're going to do it, within this next 10 years, we'll have the ability to do that with a 2110 infrastructure. The scalability of it too is a factor. The ability to utilize new technologies as they come on and have a little bit more plug and play ability. I'm probably oversimplifying there, but I think we understand the benefits that come along with 2110. And that pushes us to make a decision to go ahead and go 2110. Have all the trepidation that Sean mentioned as in terms of staff. Like, that's a real concern of mine. I'm trying to educate myself as much as I can. We're all on the SEMTI website, trying to update our knowledge base as much as we can, from an engineering standpoint. But we're also excited about it and the opportunity it presents to us.
That's a great insight, and appreciate you sharing that with us. That's one of the key things in making the decision is for a particular workflow, how well is it going to work? What does it really bring to the table? It's quite fascinating to me that everybody, all the set-top manufacturers, all the display manufacturers want to push UHD, but HDR in 1080p really makes enough of a difference that seems to be the real driver in sports.
I'll tell you, on the HDR front, we haven't yet we got the new board this past year, and in our 1080i environment, SDI, we elected, okay, we're not biting off HDR. We also have still some legacy boards too that aren't HDR capable, so we were concerned about the contrast there. We still have that decision to make too, as whether HDR is right for us. I will say, just in I talked to the best way to learn is just talking to other teams that are experiencing these things. HDR is a real challenge from everyone that I talk to. I'm not speaking from experience, just sort of conveying, that when we talk to others, and the matching of colors from the edit box to the actual display, there's challenges along the way. And that one we are carefully considering as well too, is the juice worth the squeeze, so to speak. It seems like people that do well with it are very happy with the results, and so that's intriguing to us too as all, but we haven't yet made a decision on that.
Yeah, one thing, excuse me here, Steve. One thing I will add to what Stan just said too is there are a number of teams, a good half dozen that I can think of off the top of my head that do HDR, and I would encourage everyone to reach out to us and talk to those folks, because they have gone through the learning curve of it all. They're extremely happy now that they've overcome that hurdle with the product that's being delivered. So yeah, please reach out and chat with us, and we can certainly pair you up with the right people.
That's great. Maybe you could go on a little bit more, Sean, and talk a little bit about the advantages that hyper-converged platforms provide in making those decisions and enabling future technologies to be easily deployed or cost-effective, as well as cost-effectively deployed.
Sure. I mean, well, so, I'll talk about our product. We have a hyperconverged product, which is, essentially a platform that you can add things on to. So one of the big concerns with trucks, especially the stadiums and the arenas, is where do we put all this gear, right? So the rack rooms are getting bigger. There's more needs, more boxes for what we're trying to accomplish. So how do we shrink that down in size and make sense of it all? So one thing that we have begun to do is take our products and blend them, merge them together in one box, if you will. So right now we have something called the Ultrix, which is really a router with switcher blades inside of it. And what's really nice is that you can actually have multiple switcher blades and treat those as different systems. So what have I essentially done at this point? I have taken the cabling out of the equation, right? I'm not cabling from a switcher to a router and back. It's all inside the system itself. When you think about a control room that needs an audio mixer, you could potentially rid that console, which we really use just to listen levels on during a game, and put that mixing capability in the box. When you think about scaling and stitching these massive boards together, we typically had a product that was an isolated product, and you might have multiple of these boxes to bring that to life. Well, now we can take those and actually put them into the box. So when you start shrinking this down, it becomes a very appealing product to people. and allows you to grow, right? So there are a lot of people that will say, I don't need all this right now. Well, think about the shell right now and then add as you go. You don't need to buy it all now, but think beyond what you're currently doing. And a lot of people need to really understand that to protect their investment.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the key. Go ahead, Stan.
Yeah, to follow this. So we have, we have a full ROS, CMS system, content management system, at the ballpark that we put in as part of the board. So that was kind of the part two of the decision making on the board. Daktronics for the actual video board itself, and then we had to decide on the content management of it. And just to speaking to Sean's point, like the part we bid off last year was, we're gonna have this fantastic new board. We're still gonna have a 1080i control room. Where can we maximize the experience for our fans? And it was through the RAW system in being able to do pixel for pixel displays of graphics, special videos. We will in full resolution, our open video and other special content that we play from the RAW system. And just as Sean said, it is all stitched together, amazingly so, and allows us to do full resolution, 5500 wide, 5500 pixel wide content. And that is, thanks to, what Ross is basically, was able to create and put in place for us and allow us to, we up convert on the 1080 side when we go live, still looks really good. But we know next year, on the control room side, we'll be able to kind of live up to the expectations we're setting on the content display side that Ross has provided for us.
How did that impact your decisions on the switcher and switcher functionality?
Yeah, it's a process we're literally going through it right now as we look into next year, and certainly the commitment we've made to Ross, means we need to have a strong, Ross Talk system in place now. When you look at Ross, right for that, right? We'll plug for Sean. So this is, integral to our decision making. Having said that, we do know Ross has been kind enough to that technology to spread, to other switcher manufacturers that take advantage of it, and you want to make the right choice for you, and from a compatibility standpoint and user friendliness and all of these things in consideration. But Ross is a strong possibility for us as well as we consider our options for next year.
I didn't pay him to say that, Steve.
Yeah, right.
So one of the other things that's happening a lot is in the sports analysis part. Can you maybe talk a little bit, Sean, about the impact that is having on sports broadcasting in general and on in-venue production using a hyperconverged system?
Well, so you talked a little bit about sports analysis. I think it's really important to understand who our audience is. I think there's a really big shift going on between the people who have attended sporting events over the years and who's coming in to see these sporting events, right? There's a big differentiator between millennials and Gen Zs. They think differently. They want different experiences. So one of the tools that we've introduced some time ago was Piero, which is really a sports analysis tool. So, the younger crowd goes in, they may not understand the game. This becomes a tool, a visual tool that sort of pairs up with the words. So you can talk about something all day long, but if you're not accompanying it with visuals, it makes it that much harder to understand. So I think Piero, with your first and 10 ability, AR, augmented reality that might float around on the grass or the field, I should say, these are all really important components that I think play a key part in any game.
That's a very good point. It kind of ties in, Stan, to how you're deploying technology, the advantages that it gives you in attracting your fan base, as well as using the venue for other functions. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that from your perspective?
Yeah, well, I would definitely follow up on Sean's point. It's interesting because you can kind of approach it a little cynically in venue, like, hey, you don't have an announcer kind of describing the graphics you're putting up, and so like how should we even be replicating what you might see on a broadcast? Is it too complex to messaging to kind of convey for your fans if you don't have the associated play-by-play announcer kind of walking you through it? And what we found through a lot of what Ross has provided us this year is fans are really engaged with it. We make sure we sit amongst the crowd. We see whether they're, paying attention to, spray charts for batters and the way they interact, the way where, nearly immediately after a home run is hit, being able to, show exit velocity, launch angle, and graphically display it in a way that's very interesting without having an announcer kind of also, narrate it to you. is still very impactful. And so that's been a great addition to the ballpark, and something we utilize on a regular basis. And then, other, technology enhancements that just kind of have come along the way, or maybe a little bit more basic level, or things like, just selfie cams, where fans are able to use, their own mobile technology, and being able to take that and provide a fun experience for fans. Where now, all of a sudden, instead of having our 5 live cameras that we have in the ballpark, now we have 600 as the people that have logged on and are choosing to engage with that. So that's another kind of fun addition, and runs the gamut at the ballpark. And the thing is, you just have to be aware of all the tools at your disposal, and that continue to kind of challenge yourself from a technology standpoint.
That's amazing. I can't believe the level of fan engagement that you've obviously achieved, and sitting amongst them to see how they're reacting, and the whole selfie thing with the displays in the background really says something. You had a comment there?
I was just going to say, one other thing to really think about is the revenue side of it. We might think of cost a lot. I think we all do, regardless of what you're purchasing, whether it's software or hardware. But think beyond that too. When we start talking PRO, when I start talking to PRO with customers, one of the things I throw out there is the revenue generation portion of it, right? These systems can pay for themselves pretty quickly. There's so many different ways that we.
Oh, did we lose Sean? Looks like we may have lost Sean. Well, Stan, I guess it's you and me for right now until he gets back on. Tell me a little bit about the biggest challenges you see in production today, and what suggestions you can offer to others entering into this field.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, we can see you now. So, okay, I was just asking Sean to talk a little bit about the biggest challenges he's facing in sports broadcasting and production today, and what suggestions he would give to someone who's looking to enter into the field. The newbie. We got to train some new guys to come in, because some of us are getting a little
well,
older.
This is about a 2-hour conversation, Steve. Yeah. So attrition's a big one, right? I mean, we're seeing such a shift, and I think it really started from COVID. So many people left the industry because they had no idea what the future of what we do is, right? And it's like, how do we bring these new people in and drop them into a situation that requires experience? It's not easy to do. You also have to think about people who are aging out, right? We've got a lot of folks out there that are getting to a point where they're ready to retire and move on. And you've got these young people coming in that have literally no experience. I mean, there's obviously a pool of them out there, but we need to devise better ways to get these people trained up. For instance, I was cutting shows out of my house during COVID. So I had a switcher, I have all my multi-viewers, and I have 3 daughters, and not one of them could care less about what I do. Up until the money came up, right? When the money was brought up, all of a sudden there's interest, and it can't be about that. It has to be about a passion. And as a former trainer with Ross, where I did spend a lot of my career training folks at different facilities, it's interesting to see how quickly you can pick out those people who have a thirst for this, right? And you want to lean on those people and bring them up and train them in what we do. But yeah, there's so many things we have to think about. Retention. How do we get people to the ballpark? A lot or ballpark, the stadium, whatever. A lot of these people now are fed up with traffic. They're fed up with food prices. They're fed up with this. They're fed up with that. So we're doing what we can from a technology standpoint to make that experience better than being at home. So, that's a really big question, Steve. I mean, I could go on for hours about this, but sure. I think we really need to pay attention to that portion of this business.
What about you, Stan? What would you recommend to someone who's looking to get into this industry, and somebody that maybe you would like to shepherd along in your facility? What kinds of things would you want them to get involved with and learn and be very confident at?
Yeah, I would say, well, definitely, get on the forefront of new technologies, because that's Sean's right. It's that's where the challenge comes into play. It's a it's amazing what we do to ourselves, right? And just constantly, pushing the technological envelope, not letting us sort of breathe for a while and adjust to whatever format we just, created before we're on to the next one. And ultimately, it's a good thing and provides a good fan experience from the engineering and backside of it, though. It can be a bit of a challenge. And so I would say anybody that's coming into it, yes, educate yourself on 2110. Learn the ins and outs of it. It is, to be honest with you, that's also the challenge too. It's hard to say that, point to, a veteran engineer hasn't had experience with it. How much knowledge can they pass along now to something that's a new way of distributing video? There's obviously it's helpful to have the previous engineering background, but it's a challenge to overcome. It's a new way of thinking. You're not grabbing patch panels anymore. So I would say, yeah, for anybody coming in, educate yourself on the new technology and become expert level as fast as you can. And the amazing part is there's a ton of tools at your disposal that you can that you can take on individually. Training videos, courses at SEMTI, I think are valuable. I'd encourage you that way. From the other side of it is just people already in the industry is embrace new technology. Find the right fit for your organization and continue to be, a leader within your organization.
Great. One of the things, Steve, I'd like to just add to what you said, Stan, I think we also need to think about the schools out there. There's a lot of broadcasting type schools that need that channel, that connection with the Stans of the world, right? So I think we need to think more about how do we make that connection between them? And I know we're working on a program to bring people together because there's a definite need and there's definite want from some of these students.
That's a very good point. That's one of the reasons why Keycode actually offers some training programs. We have an educational division to help support production efforts to train people, and a number of those courses are approved now for the state of California for continuing education. Sean, I've got one other quick question for you before we jump to the audience questions. Can you talk a little bit about the trends that you're seeing in cameras for sports production?
I think, well, there's so many different types of ideas coming to market. I mean, one of the biggest ones for me out of the gate is aerial cameras. When a lot of people think it's only for the NFL, and it's obviously not. There's ways you can use these aerial cameras, and you really give the viewer a different perspective on the field on the subject, right? So we personally have 4-point systems, we have 2-point systems, we have different configurations we can use for big venues, smaller venues. But if it's something that if people are trying to enhance their overall production, I would definitely lean on that. And then you accompany that with tracking systems, and you get some really, really cool effects, right?
Exactly. Well, and I think that's really important, and it ties back to that fan engagement. The more visually appealing the production is, the more angles that you get, the more engaged the fan seems to become. And of course, that drives attendance, that drives revenue, all those good things that we
and
like
you can sponsor it, Steve, and you can sponsor it.
There you go. I was going to touch on that, but there you go. It's at the end of the day, it's all about getting people in the seats and having them spend some money there, and getting the advantage of having eyes on those screens when those advertisements come up, and having sponsors derive some benefit from that. Great. All right. I think we're ready to dive into some audience Q&A now. So we've got a question here from Andy, and we'll give this one to Stan. While building content for a game, how do you program content for the show? Is there a lot of distribution of content to different players? How do you go about getting that all set up?
Yeah, it kind of depends on the sport you're in too, and your opportunities to refresh your content with players. Baseball presents a unique challenge. They play almost every day. And so opportunities to shoot, new content with players can be a bit of a challenge. So you do put a lot of baseball teams, Tigers included, put a lot of emphasis on spring training and the content that's acquired at that time. And so, you try and get, certainly, headshots and all the fun, we use the term gladiators, in the industry, both broadcast and in game and venue. And that's, the fun animated footage of players, on a high quality set, often with some kind of LED imagery behind them, We've done pyro over the years, all that fun stuff. That's where I've seen real growth over the years, in our industry is the, amount budgeted towards shoots like that continues to grow and grow each year because it's just an expectation to have these high cinematic quality footage of your players that you can roll in for their headshots as part of your open videos, and then throughout the game, as you build highlight packages and everything that goes with that. So you put a lot of effort and focus into that in spring training, along with all the fun stuff that you shoot. You see the interviews with players about trending things that are going on. You get their fun takes on on music videos or their favorite movies, and all the fun stuff that you see when you go to the ballpark too. You put a special emphasis on that, and it's really, from a baseball standpoint, it's building for an entire season. Understanding you're trying not to replicate the same experience for a fan that goes to maybe 2 games in a row or the same game within the homestand. And when you start to add it up, the amount of inning breaks you have, everything that you do, that's a lot of content. And I know our organization's put a special focus on making sure that's fresh on a daily basis. And you do have to have a team of editors, a team of producers that is top of mind and a focus for them as from the in-game side.
Excellent. This was kind of a follow-on question to that from Paul. He's asking if you're using a built-in AI search engine for finding visuals to use during the live events. And he also asked about Dante, if you're using that and how you're syncing your audio and video for live events.
Yeah, I will say yes. We do utilize Dante, and I mentioned at the beginning of this about how I'm challenged sometimes on my engineering knowledge. I couldn't I couldn't give you a full breakdown of the uses of Dante. We do utilize Dante extensively here at the arena. We're bringing it to Comerica Park, as well, and understand that's where we're heading from an audio distribution standpoint. And I'm sorry, and the first question was.
Oh, it was. Are you using AI to search your?
This is a great example of when we talk about gaps in knowledge kind of gets where you get accustomed a certain way. So I mentioned I edited for 22 years or whatever of my career. Was hands on with a lot of editing, teases or opens, these things. At no point during that time was AI something that entered into the picture. And it seems like it's kind of been a recent development over the last 2 years, which is kind of when I stopped personally editing a lot of these. So I do see its impact, and I'm amazed at what can happen in a short amount of time with it. And I know it's still in sort of an exploratory phase, with our editors as we're learning, what's within bounds, what you're able to create, and still have it be of a benefit and an enhancement to what you're doing, and not a sideshow to what you're doing. And I think that's the real trick that we're all still sort of learning. But is it a part of the process? Absolutely.
Okay. Sean, I'm going to throw this one to you. The question is what has been the most impactful technological innovation you've seen in sports production, and how has it changed the way teams approach in-venue broadcasting?
Well, I think there's been a lot of changes over the years, but I guess I'm going to leap forward and say that I think AI is going to change a lot of what we do. And to Stan's point, this isn't a replacement tool. I don't see it as that. I see people thinking that way, but I see it more of an enhancement, as you mentioned, Stan, to what we're currently doing. When you can start leaning on AI to build a package for you within a show and play that back very quickly. When you can have AI drive cameras, not that you're necessarily using a camera operator, but there might be some cameras that are driven by AI. I think that in itself, leaping forward is going to be what really changes our industry. We talk about hyperconverge, we talk about Pierre, we talk about all these products that we have and we utilize, and they certainly have made a big impact. But I think AI is really going to change things for all of us, and hopefully in a very positive way.
Hopefully so. Here's one, and we've kind of already touched on it, but Sean, why don't you talk a little bit about more of this, and Stan, I think you maybe have some impact or some input on this and its impact as well. This is from Dave. He says, Kiss Cam is getting a bit outdated. What are some of the newer trending in-stadium programming techniques that you are seeing in stadiums and that you are actually deploying? And that would be for you, Stan.
Kiss Cam is a bit, it is a bit dated. It has been a few years, I think, since we've done actual Kiss Cam. But I will say, one thing we did, I feel like it's been about 3 years now, or 2 to 3 years since we implemented this, is we worked with Ross in creating, basically a random cam animation piece that we could instantly change, and so we could capture, trends. If there was something that was happening that made sense, or an idea that came to us, that morning, we could put it in effect that night and have an animated graphic ready to go to lead into whatever special cam we're doing. And so that has run the gamut from, rally cam. We ask people to turn their hats around for it, specific dance cams, cams based on characters from TV shows. This again, I'm right now, as I'm rattling these off, kind of taking credit for our game presentation team. Does a fantastic job with these, and regularly creates new and special cams with it. And then the other point is, that's one inning break, but another is about interactive games. We've worked with Ross quite a bit in developing almost game show quality kind of animations and looks for that, that 60 seconds, 90-second piece that you run in between innings, where you have the host doing a trivia style game, but now it has the presentation of, Wheel of Fortune, or the match game, or other, game shows that we've become familiar with over the years.
Okay, great. This one is from Cliff. And Stan, maybe you can answer this one a little bit. He's asking, what is the average integration time for a stadium project such as your LED upgrade, and what? And I guess what he's asking is what was the projection versus what the reality was?
I think for us, I think we challenged that timeline a bit. We really, as I mentioned, 2022. Was when we began to focus on the need for it and doing the work on our end, but we did not have the actual, board manufacturer and Ross, selected and given the full go until July of last year. And we had the board in place prior to opening day. So about a week, 2 weeks prior to opening day. So that would put mid late March. In baseball, that's kind of stretching the timeline, especially baseball in a northern city. Yep. That's pushing the timeline a bit. I think we definitely saw that. But to the credit of Ross and Daktronics, they delivered and got it done.
Okay. Sean, I think this one will go to you. You mentioned earlier that you've seen a lot of change with Remy, and this one's from Tom. He's asking, how realistic is it to have a significant portion of your live team working from a remote location, and how do you manage that in terms of reliability and communication?
Well, it's hard to say where it goes. I mean, I know that some of the regional sports networks have sort of mandated that, producers and directors stay at home. The TD, the A1, usually one replay op and a tech manager who sit in the truck, right? And everybody else can be at home doing shows, or we're back at the studio in their hometown. So I don't, it's really hard to see or say which way it's going to go. But I think, again, as I mentioned earlier on, I think it's going to be a hybrid of this mechanism, if you will, long term. I think that if we can figure out how to deliver traffic over the internet better, lower latency, which again, latency has been an issue, but I think a lot of people have gotten past that hurdle. They sort of know how to time things out when they're calling a show. But if we can minimize that in due time, and I think we will, you might see more of a swing in that direction. So I love it. Hey, who doesn't like being at home doing a show, right?
Sure. So, okay, Stan, this one will come back to you. The question is from Jeff, and he wants to know if you've done any migration to the cloud or a hybrid on-prem versus cloud, and what your thoughts are around that.
Yeah, we are, for the most part, on-prem. Like, we made significant, investments in on-prem storage for, for video production purposes, and have leaned in that direction. Having said that, the work at home environment, kind of creates the need for, something beyond what we're doing on-prem. And, the cloud would be one direction to go. We're a corporate organization that has all the IT, limits that are, I shouldn't say limits, but, all the fun that comes along with, working with your IT department and creating a structure that's safe for everybody. And so what that means is, hey, a VPN network. Well, everybody knows, moving files over a VPN can be a challenge for video editors. So we do experience that, and there's, workarounds. We are, while we've invested in the network storage and has been had a great impact on us, we're still in the process of identifying the right digital asset management system, for our needs. And I know organizations, at least the teams I talk to, are kind of at varying levels on that. And we're looking for the right one that works for us. That is, we're a 12-month a year now, organization. We've dabbled in CatDV a little bit over the years, and a couple others, and simply just having a really strong file folder structure. But we know we're at the point where we need to expand into, something that offers, both more robust on the cloud side and simply just as an organizational tool.
That's good insight. There's a follow-on to that from Jeff, that he's asking, how are you filtering and tagging your content for later quick use, especially in the cinematic type of acquisition instead of the usual broadcast acquisition? Yeah,
these are all, these are all areas we've kind of identified we need to do better with. We have put too much in the hands of our editors, and basically their working memories, of what our content is. So it's interesting. Yeah, you asked the question because we've done a lot of research in this area and are still moving towards what the right solution would be for us. But we do have some capabilities on the production side. So in our control rooms, tagging through dream catchers, tagging process on the replay system here at Little Caesars Arena. We're still EBS over at the ballpark too, and just through naming conventions, we're able to accomplish what we need. But of the digital asset managers that we explore, there's a lot of great options, and we're still in the process of deciding on the right one for us.
Okay, I've got one more question here before we run out of time. Are you seeing problems with wireless devices, both camera and audio, in terms of interference from new technology that is in your RF spectrum?
We actually have an ongoing problem we're trying to solve. It sounds like somebody might be at our ballpark on a daily basis. I wonder, firing up something, some wireless. Look, it's a challenge to manage, and we have had, as we've expanded into this space, the number of pieces of gear that are in operating in the RF spectrum. We've run into more conflicts this year than we ever have before, and it's simply, I think it's a direct result of the volume of equipment that we're firing up on a regular basis that's operating wirelessly, as well as just understanding other technologies that may be in the area and trying to get a handle on everything that's that's working at once. So it's so I guess the answer is yes, I think.
It's a challenge and it's ongoing. All right, I've got one last thing I got to put in here. You got a comment here from Valentine. He says commercial is looking really good this year. Good job, Stan. So you got some fans out there.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks. Good to hear.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today. And if you're interested in learning more about sports solutions from Ross Video, or exploring products from the over 400 lines that KeyCode Media represents, please feel free to contact KeyCode Media. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more insights and updates. Thanks again for joining us, and thank you, Stan and Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Broadcast to Post. Please make sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes. Follow KeyCode Media on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram to receive news on additional AV, broadcast, and post-production technology content. See you next time, folks.